All right, so Jets-Colts this evening. Andrew Luck, 14-1 straight up and against the spread, coming off a loss, Mike. So history is not on the Jets side here. The Jets have lost their last 4 season road openers. Luck dominant, Colts back home. Looks like Hilton's going to be a go this evening. Well, all that being stated, I don't really trust the Colts. I can't believe I'm trusting Fitzpatrick here, but I think the Jets are physically a stronger team. I think they can win the battle in the trenches. They should be able to run the football. What's your take on the game?
Well, here's my take here. And as you said, the Colts are 14-1 in games directly following losses. However, they did open the season 0-2 last year, and they're in a position of doing that. That was their one loss. Now, on the Colts side here, the Jets have lost 13 consecutive road games against teams that have finished the season with a winning record. That's check one off for the Colts. Now, I'm assuming the Colts, people figure them to be a playoff team this year. The Jets haven't defeated an eventual playoff team on the road since beating the Steelers 22-17 December of 2010.
Wow.
Right? So, and since then, in those 13 road games that they've played against teams that finished above 500, they've been outscored by an average margin of 31-16. 9 of those 13 contests were losses by more than 2 scores. All that being said, that wasn't with the current Jets coach. So I got to throw that out the window. None of that really matters to me, and that's all in the Colts' favor. Now, there's a 7-point spread here this evening, and to be honest with you, I just think that the Colts are going to get pushed around. They're going to get bullied. The Jets were one of 7 teams that did not give up a sack in Week 1. The Colts were one of 7 that didn't have one. In fact, they didn't even register a single hit against Tyrod Taylor in Game 1. And Cleveland blitzed the Jets on 9 passing plays last week, and they weren't able to get home one time. Now, the recipe for the Colts hasn't really changed from last season. They ran the ball less frequently than any of the 12 playoff teams last year. They ran last week. They ran 53 passing plays and only 14 running plays in Week 1. Part of that's great game script. Part of that's the way the game fell, and the rest is just how they are. And T.Y. Hilton's going to play, but he may have to go up against Darrelle Revis. They just have fantastic run defense. They only let up 2.2 rushes. 2.2 yards per rush in Week 1, and Cleveland is much better at rushing the ball than the Colts. I just don't see – I don't think man for man. They have the best quarterback, it's unquestioned. I don't see them matching up. And, the spread is what it is because they're playing at home and what history says, and Andrew Luck is there. To me, I'm a little more aggressive here, but I'm taking the Jets straight out on the money line. Plus 250 is too fruitful of an opportunity. And for everybody else, I would suggest that plus 7 at minus 110 is a wonderful play this evening.
Wow, that's a bold move, bold statement.
I don't see it. I think they don't have the personnel, Gabe.
I'm buying in. I'm buying in everything that you said.
Listen to this. The quarterbacks Greg Toller and Darius Butler, they're out, right? So, Vontae Davis, he's unbelievable. He hasn't given up a TD since 2013. But Eric Decker is going to be operating in the slot. He played 43 snaps last week against the Browns. He's going to have a big night tonight. He's going to have a big night.
All right, so let's get to the props here. I'm seeing, I've seen some lower numbers. If anywhere from like 210 for Ryan Fitzpatrick all the way up to about 224. But if we can get the lower number, we'll go with the lower number. I think it's a low number for Fitzpatrick. He didn't. He threw for 179 against Cleveland. That was a strange game. That game with all the turnovers, short fields. It was a strange game. In a game in which there's going to be some points put up on the board tonight, it's hard not to think Fitzpatrick goes over 210.5 yards.
Well, the reason why I focused on that more than with some of the rushing things is primarily because of the cornerback situation for the Colts. The Jets are going to try to rush the ball. That's an obvious thing. I think this is less obvious to people, and I think that's a very low number.
But how about Chris Ivory? And I like Chris Ivory. It's only 72.5 yards. 91 yards in Week 1. I know they didn't practice much throughout the week. He's banged up, but he's good to go here. The Colts got carved up, man. The Colts gave up 154. They gave up 147 yards. So the Jets ran for 154 last week. Colts gave up 147 against the Bills. 72.5. I'm going over with Chris Ivory.
Well, the only problem that I see there is I don't know how long he'll be on the field. I could see Belial Powell getting a number of touches only because of his health. I'm not certain of it, but I'm not sure, so I'm staying away.
Yeah.
And one of the part of the appeal of Andrew Luck in fantasy is he has so much opportunity. The defense is so awful that he gets the ball back so often, and he has a lot of opportunity to succeed. So I don't doubt that the Jets going to be able to run the ball. I'm just not sure how much of that will go to Belial Powell, just because of of the groin.
And, and like you said, I'm kind of all over the place here. A lot of times props are correlated what you think the game, but I think the Jets will be able to run the ball. I think Fitzpatrick is going to throw the ball. I think there's going to be some points put up on the board. And Andrew Luck, 278.5 yards. He only threw for 240 last week, which is kind of low for him. 278.5. It's going to go over. He's playing at home. It's going to go over. I like that Luck. It's kind of a square play, but also 24.5 completions. I mean, the guy throws the ball 50 times a game, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just staying away from it because I don't know how the game script is going to end up going. But if I had to choose a side, even though that I'm picking the Jets to win, he's going to be putting the ball up a lot. If he throws for a 50% completion percentage, he probably makes that.
Frank Gore is 54.5 yards. Any take on that one?
I would stay away from that. I do not see the Colts running on anybody, let alone the Jets, who have one of the better run defenses in the NFL. What did they run for against Buffalo? How many yards?
They, I don't even know, nothing.
I mean, it's going to be very much the same thing, unless there's some kind of a surprise draw play that amounts in something that they weren't.
I would go under.
Where it's 3rd and 40, and they let them run for 20 yards between tackles. They're not getting 54 yards from anyone running back.
I think Gore rushed for like 40 yards. Actually, I was surprised because I actually bet him under 66.5, and I cashed it last week, and he surprised me. He started off with a couple of nice runs. I was like, ooh. Is Gore actually going to do something? But like you said, they don't run the football at all. So I would go under 54.5. We got to get out of here, Mike. So your top props are?
Fitzpatrick over 210.5. Eric Decker over 54.5 receiving yards, also over 5.5 receptions, and the Jets over 20 points.
All right, and he's called a Jets straight-out money line win. Enjoy the game. I'm on the Jets. Go Jets, Mike.